welcome to Plus TV Africa. I am Mary-Ann Okon, and today we are one-on-one with the Guber aspirant for APC in River State, Mr. Tonye Cole. Good morning, Mr. Tonye. It's good to have you on one-on-one.
Hi, Mary. How are you today?
Good, good, good. So we know what's been happening in River State as per the APC and your Guber aspiration. So give us a little background as to how we got to where we are today, if you mind.
Well, I'll say that there was some infighting within the party right at the Congress level. One party decided to go to court, another party went and got an injunction. Then, based on that injunction, a primary was carried out. Somebody did not agree. One thing led to another court case, another court case, and that just continued snowballing. At some point, you would have expected that people would sit down at a table, come to an agreement, knowing that the ultimate end will not be beneficial to anyone. But for some reason, it was just allowed to keep going to where we find ourselves today.
There are people who have said that you just came out of the blues in terms of APC in River State, that you were not in the picture originally, and this is what led to the infighting in the first instance. What's your reaction to that?
No, but that's not true. So if you go back, you'll find out that whatever infighting had started 2 years ago, you saw me coming into the full picture in September of last year, 4 months ago, thereabouts. But this is something that started 2 years ago, so it should have very little to do with me, if at all. I think there were aspirations, ambitions, disagreements as to people within the party and what they were going to do. I would say it had nothing to do with me at all.
So if you knew that there was some form of infighting, did you think that that was the best time for you to go into the APC and, you know, declare your gubernatorial aspirations?
Absolutely, because politics is always about people and their interests and no interest, sitting down and coming to an agreement. No matter what, at every single point in time within the political arena, you're going to find people with different opinions, but you also know that only one person will emerge, and at the end of the day, that one person will have to be able to pull everyone together to work together.
Did you think you were that person?
Definitely, I had no doubt.
So what
whatsoever.
happens now? Again, on the issue of the factions, I remember I was here in Port Harcourt when we had the parallel primaries, and I spoke to both sides of the divide. Did you at any point reach out to the Magnus Abe faction and say, hey, let's come to a roundtable, as you hinted at the beginning, let's see if we can forge a new way out of this, because you know that you stand, or you stood a chance at the time against the incumbent?
Yes, consistently. I've never run away from that. I've always called Senator Magnus intermittently, talking to him and asking him to come in, but he said something consistently, which is that he never believed that I was in a position to do it, because I was not the issue, I was not the problem, and that he believed that the only person who can resolve the issue is the leader of the party, Rotimi Amechi, and that only both of them can sit down to resolve it. It makes it a bit hard for third parties to come into a picture where one party says that only another party can resolve it. And so what has happened over the time is that different leaders of the party all across board have tried to bring both of them together to intervene. But we'll continue, but I guess people have their interests.
It makes me wonder, do you find yourself caught in between two people who are fighting, two friends maybe, and you are now the victim of, age-long, let's say, a little bit of bad blood or rivalry in the party?
No, I think I see it a bit differently. What I see today is the ability to stay on the outside and take a look at things and see how things are going. If there's one thing that this has opened up the eyes of everyone within the party, is that you cannot continue like this. Any house that is divided can't stand, and so unity must come through, and that you're going to need a third party, which is where we came in the first instance, to bring somebody who was neither left nor right, but could pull both sides of the equation onto the table and take a different chart. If I'm convinced about one thing in doing all of this, is that now that is the right thing to do, and that we will have to do that moving forward. It cannot be left, it can't be right. We have to find that middle ground where we pull everybody together and take it forward.
Before I go fully into your reasons for running for governor, let's still talk about this imbroglio for a bit. Now that it seems that there's some form of obvious division now, it's more like, well, there are no winners as we see it right now, and then the opposition obviously is jubilating because the major opposition is in shatters. So what do you think you're going to do? Because first things first, like you said, you have to unify going forward, because you can't walk like that, you can't build anything, you can't forge ahead. Now I also know that this court case has also somewhat stripped other candidates of their running and their campaigns. So how do you mend this? Where do you even start?
So that's a huge question, and it's something that we continue to think about, because first, in a democracy, everybody must have the right to choose. So one of the things that you're seeing now is that there's a whole group, well over 50-60% of the population, right, who would have said that this is where we're going, and all of a sudden they don't have that right to vote because it's just been taken off them. And those are members, card-carrying members of APC who had been determined that they were going to make a change in this election. We went grassroots to grassroots. I went from ward to ward, meeting people and campaigning and interacting directly with APC members to find out that what do you want, and meeting people in their communities. And what I saw was that people desired that change. They were looking for something different, something fresh. They were tired of the violence, they were tired of unemployment, they were tired of poverty, they were tired of suffering, they were tired of not having any kind of connection with government, and they wanted somebody who could come and serve, sit with them and all. So I knew that this was their desire, and all of a sudden that's taken out. Now it's very painful when you see that people who had an opportunity to make a choice are not being denied that fact by a court order. And that is probably the hardest thing. So when I sit down and I look at it, I just feel that few people should not make that kind of decision where you, by sitting down and refusing to come to an agreement, you strip a whole generation, millions of people, from the right to just exercise that one thing that they've been holding on to and waiting for 4 years. So for me, that's a painful aspect of all of this when I think about it.
Let's talk about you wanting to run for governor. We knew Tonye Cole for Sahara Energy, and then all of a sudden we're seeing your faces on the posters in River State. Why did you decide that you wanted to go into politics? And then, what makes you think that being governor of River State would somewhat fulfill your dreams? Is it about your dreams, or is it about the people of River State?
You know, life is in phases. Everything you start, you grow, you get born from a child, you start moving, you go to school, then you do whatever it is, your career, and then you move forward. And at each stage in your life, you think back and you say, what next? And where do you go next? As far as business is concerned, we had excelled. We've done as much as we could do and continue to grow. I'd set up a business that in itself is very sustainable, in itself has done great, has gone across nations, had been international, not just in Africa, but also in Asia, in the Middle East, in Europe. So that business was doing well. We had gotten through a stage in that business where for the last 15, 20 years, we had been giving back consistently, well over 20 years, and just giving back consistently and touching lives at different levels and setting up a foundation within that business that was highly philanthropic, going out and doing things. We'd always done this under the scene, because we're not, for those of us who know, or anyone who knows Sahara and how we've grown, is just stay out of the limelight, build the brand, let the brand stand out there, and the people will stay behind. And so we've done that for a long time. And the more you impact people, the more you go out and you make a difference in people's lives, the more you know that there is one frustration that you would have, that there are policies and governments that sit down without understanding how you can make a huge difference in the lives of people. And that unless you have the right people who are ready to serve, who can make policies to service in government, then that ability to reach millions of people will be limited all the time. And it's a frustration. It's a frustration that I felt over and over again. Now we can do much more, but we're not able to do that. Politics gives you that ability to hit people, hit them in the place that they're going to be impacted the most. One policy can change the lives of millions of people. One intervention from government done right can make a huge difference. An environment, just a business environment, just giving people the right way of thinking about business can change a whole generation of people. A good intervention in education can make a whole difference. So you see that And I've always looked at things, even in Sahara, the way we used to look at things is, what is one intervention that you can take that it has multiple effects across board? Look for it. Once you can do that, you hit many people. And that's what politics does. It's a one intervention strategy that you take a look in government, decide where you can impact, put your impact there, and it touches millions of people.
As much as this sounds really interesting, politics in Nigeria is totally different from how you sound. And for you, you're a newcomer. You've never really been a politician. Especially River State politicking is also a very different terrain. How easy did you think you were going to have it when you thought of running for governorship?
And I think that's a misnomer, or should I just say that's where people are very misguided. First and foremost, I come from a political family. So my father ran for president. My father was part of the people that set up PDP. They were part of the people that set up SDP. He's been in politics for a long time. So I've been in the shadow of politics and politicians. I know sitting down, and just as a young boy, just sitting down and seeing them plan what they would do, how they would go through Nigeria, what they would do in terms of political parties, politicking, strategies and all of that. So we grew up in that frame. Something happened after they went, just before Babangida stepped aside, that whole period when they were running. I mean, I was with him when they were doing Abiola Hope 93. So we've been there, or 83, sorry. So we've been there all through. Now, one of the things that happened was there was a huge disappointment that we all felt, especially my generation felt, when we came back. I left Brazil, came back to Nigeria when my father was running for president, toured the country with him, seeing and discovering the diversity of Nigeria. There was so much passion and hope that the military was going to leave and democracy was going to come in. And then all of that was curtailed. When that was curtailed, there was a decision that I think most of my generation did, which today, when you look back, might not have been the best. We all abandoned politics. We just said, you know what, let's go to where, if this is how they can just change destinies of people, so one day everybody's moving in this direction, one order, everybody goes there, they throw people in jail and all of that. Let's go to where we can create our destinies. And so we moved into business. Many people, some travel, went abroad. Most people went and began to set up businesses. That was the time, if you look at that time frame, it's the time that you started seeing the banks coming out. It's the time that you started seeing the companies going into oil and internet and TVs and all of that. Entertainment and all. So business began to take a center stage. But something came across in all of this. Every route that we took always brought you back to the fact that government will make policies that will affect your business consistently. That government will make policies that will affect your life, and that there is a government affecting everything you do. They give licenses, they make rules, everything, so you can't avoid it. And so business and politics have always been close. You have to play politics, you have to do business. Play politics, do business. So you are always in the frame with politicians, with business people, with government people, with ministers and all that. You are always in that frame. So it's always a misnomer when people say that, oh, you've never been in politics. No, what they have not seen is frontline politics. They have absolutely no idea the backroom politics that has been going on for years, and that will continue. So what's the difference? Today, somebody from that business world who's always been in the background has decided to step forward and come into the foreground. There are many people in my shoes who are waiting to do the same, and I become a focal point for them. If you succeed, this is great for us, because it means that many people can do that transition. One last thing that I want to point out to Nigerians, and people say, oh, Nigerian politics is different. No, politics across the world is the same, across the world.
But we just have a Nigerian way of doing it.
That's all. And that's life. Business across the world is the same, but business is local. Politics is the same, but politics is local. So it's the same thing. There's a concept to it. Everywhere you go, you would find that it's about relationships. Everywhere you go, it's about understanding how people think and what people need to make it go. Politics across the world is about service. When you take service away and you make it self, about you, it's going to be destroyed. As soon as you make it about you, your nation is going to suffer, your community will suffer, politicians may get rich. And so we have all of those things, but it's about service. That's the first thing.
If you didn't have all of this play out, in the APC, and you somewhat had the opportunity to be governor, I know that River State has an issue of, tolerance. We have infighting in communities here and there. So the Ikure man says, no, I'm Ikure, you're the riverine man. So there's just that division. How, if you were governor, would you be able to unify the people? How would you make the people see beyond that and see that, hey, we're Rivers people first before we are Goni or, Ikure and the rest of that?
And so that's a great question, because if there was one thing that I stood on this campaign, it was the issue of unity. Because I came into a place that was highly fractionalized, highly divided, very divisive. And that division, I didn't even have any idea how bad it was. I knew it was there. I knew that people, because you had one political family that was breaking up into different factions and people were not happy with betrayals, and so I'd seen that, I knew. What I did not know, and once I came in and I began to see it, was that it had gotten so deep that within families, they were fighting. And I give one example because I think that was the worst example I've seen. But it helps to begin to highlight how bad the issue of division and politics in River State is. It will highlight it. It was a case of a woman that I met when I went to the ward to ward. She just lost her husband, and her husband's family was PDP. She was APC. She is APC. When her husband died and all of that, in the funeral, they removed her. They refused to allow her to participate in it. They refused to allow her children to come. They removed their names from the program. They were not featured at all. Survived by wife, children, removed completely. They were banned from coming to her husband's funeral. Why? Because she belonged to a different party. Now, you can see how deep a problem this. Now, it looks like a small thing when you're looking at it at the top of the pyramid and you're saying that, oh, I belong to PDP, I belong to ABC, so we're not going to talk about that. But that division that leaders carry begins to go down the pyramid. It continues to go down till it hits the bottom where you and I are brother and sister. And the minute you decide to go to one place, within that family, I will never talk to you again. You're my son, you're my father, you are in one party and another party, I will disown you because you are not in my party. You're my husband, you're my wife. Because you belong to another party, we are going to be divorced. Now, enough is enough. Enough is enough. So one of the things that happened once I came in was that we needed to begin to stop this whole issue of disunity.
Are
so
you
if
working
I see,
on it?
of course,
Are you, how far? What's the, if you were to grade yourself, how well have you done so far?
So first of all, it's
and I hope it's not because you were trying to be governor, but you were trying to seal the gap.
This is me. I cannot be who I am not. I remain authentic and I will stay there, whether you like it or not, whether you think that that's how politics is played or not. No. If I see you, whether you belong to my party or another party, I will cross the aisle and I will come and talk to you. You see, there's something about leadership by example, by who you are. Here I noticed that in politics, if you came into the room and you belong to an opposition party, I won't say hello to you. I will not shake your hand. If you come this way, I will walk that way. In fact, if you come into the same room and it's so bad, I will get up and walk out.
But who engineered these things? Is it not the political parties? Because, people would say APC and PDP are the same people.
No problem.
There's a crisscrossing. So, I mean, it is the politicians who have somewhat caused the people to be the way they are right now.
Yes, because they don't understand, they did not visualize or envisage what the consequence would be. And the consequence is terrible. So for me, just by, not just body language, but by action, I made sure that all those things are not going to be. So if I saw you, if I came to you, I would shake your hand. If you belong to a different political party, I will come to you. I would not stay away. So it doesn't matter who.
Let me just put this in. You know, as much as they say charity begins at home, yesterday Senator Magnus Abe was at that event, but he was not recognized. He wasn't even given a place, you know, where the party members were sat. So again, if you're stretching out this arm, I know that there's been a loss of infighting, but shouldn't it start with the faction in your party?
Okay, so where Senator Magnus Abe sat, I don't know about the recognition because I wasn't there, but I'd gone
He
to
wasn't recognized.
I don't know, but that's what I left for a period. But what I know is that where he sat was a place that was kept for senators. So he came there, and I believe, because I saw when he came, and I went to him. So if you have footage of it, you will see I was standing there. I was standing just making sure that everybody was sat right. And I saw him coming up, and I walked to him. And I said hello to him, hugged him and all. So that's number one, and this was in public glare. Number two, where he sat, next to him, if I believe right, was Senator Andrew Uchendu. They sat together. So to say that he was not sat where party members were sat is not true. He actually sat next to another senator from the same party, but different factions, so to speak, and they sat next to each other. So that's to let you know that, apart from the recognition, which I don't know, this was the case. I don't know if Senator Andrew Uchendu was recognized. I don't know if he was recognized. I have no idea. So I don't know. I'm taking your word for it.
I actually thought he wasn't at the event. It was later on I found out he was there because he wasn't recognized, and now other party members were recognized.
I don't know, but I saw it. But if that's the case, then that should not be, because as a party member, he should be recognized. But to sit on the podium where the president was, no, because that was a different setting. That was the end of, that was Oshimole, there were party leaders at that level, national party leaders at that level, the candidates, and I think that was it.
The people of River State obviously are, especially those who are followers of APC, of course, they are in some form of a confused state. They really don't know what, you know, to expect during the elections. If they were watching right now, what would you be saying to them? And of course, we're trying to call for peaceful, free, fair, and credible elections. And you know that River State has always been a hotspot. It's one of the most important states in, you know, in the polity. What would you be saying to people who are either your followers or the general public? You know, what should they be doing? How do they conduct themselves come Saturday for the elections? And of course, the next elections that are coming. As much as, you know, some people are aggrieved, how do we behave and what should be our behavior moving forward?
So if there's something that I have really been proud about the APC in this whole period, especially with the direction that I brought in, is that we set up something called the politics of peace. We've known that everyone keeps talking about River State being violent and all, and I ask, we are 4 days or 5 days to the election. Throughout this entire period, there's not one journalist that can tell me in this period that they have heard and reported about intra-party violence, where one member of one party went and killed another member of another party and retaliated and killed another one, and so on and so forth. Unlike 2015, when by this time people were leaving and fleeing the state, they were killing each other, they called it the rivers of blood and all. So we have gone through a pre-election season without violence, and that tells a lot. And I hope that this will begin to capture the imagination of people who are interested in the well-being of River State, who have always called River State violence, that there is a way that you can carry politics without being violent. And that's what I've seen, and I really have been proud about that. Now, where we are at crossroads, very emotional crossroads, where people believe that their franchise, their ability to vote and all of that has been stolen from them. It's difficult. It's a very painful process, and I see people who are grieving, and they're grieving about this, and we're talking to them, and we're carrying them through this period to say, wait, trust in the Lord. We don't know what's going to happen, but there's always life. There's life. As long as we're not dead, there's still life. There's life after yesterday, there's life after today. And tomorrow would always be a better day, but let us rationalize and think about what the next step is. For now, it's a day-to-day process. We have an election coming up on Saturday. We will face that election. Today, it seems as if that election is going to be without any APC candidate. That's fine. We don't know. But that is what it seems like now. But we have one election, which is the presidential election, and we'll go for that. After that, we will again take a look at our situation and we'll decide what next. We have a pending stay of execution. What does that mean? We don't know. But let us see how that goes. So be calm, stay focused day to day. We're in election mood now, let's go for the election. We'll take it from there.
If everything fails, if all fails, there's no governorship tickets and you don't have to participate in these elections, are you going to go back to business or are you going to stay the course in politics? I
think business is, for me, as far as that life is, that's over. I've been through too much. I've seen too much suffering. I've seen people, there's something about meeting people and just sitting down and feeling their grief, feeling their need for leadership, feeling their desire, and just seeing how people's hope was lifted up because they saw a different type of person come into politics. I've seen all of this. I've seen the ability to make that impact. And so what I know definitely is that in government or outside of government, there's a role to uplift the entire state. And that we will figure out, and that's what we're going to do. So right now, we're in this race. We're going to keep moving on. We're going to keep inspiring people. We're going to keep showing them that there's a better life for them. We're going to keep showing them that they're much better than what people think that they are. And River State is going to be better for it.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right.